Hello and welcome back, everyone. Sorry for the people who are on the other... I accidentally started live on the wrong thing. Hopefully this is the correct one now. It looks like it is. We are going to be reading through the notes for the open beta, which includes how to opt in for EU5 here. Talking through the balance, giving thoughts, ideas, concerns, comments, aspirations, desires, equivocations, theories, conspiracy theories, was it written by aliens, these types of things we will be going into. New subject changes to subject are huge. We'll have to look at the actual... I hope that they include the actual balance on it, because I've seen brief rumblings of centralization, decentralization, subjects, these types of things, and so let's jump in. First of all, in order to opt in, you have to right-click on the client, click betas, and then click 1.0.8. A couple of people have been complaining that they're just constantly updating the game, and for those people, you'll be frozen on 1.0.7 unless you actively opt in, so you can just keep playing your game without any changes. If you want the changes, you need to opt in, and then they want to collect data, and so they want feedback. Their feedback on the EU5 forum is where they want it, not through the Discord. It helps to have just one means by which you're collecting feedback, but okay. Any bug report also here, and but with that out of the way, let's get into the actual notes. So new features: 8 new advances for the Aztec formable, and 8 new advances for the 2 Sicilies formable. Nice. It appears that maybe they're going one country at a time with this, where they're just selecting countries. I don't know why Carthage wasn't the first one on here, but okay, fair enough. They destroyed the trade again? Really? Is that Baldur's Gate 3 music? No, this is the soundtrack for EU5. A lot of unhappy folks on Reddit this patch. I mean, I'm concerned about them speeding up the economy, but because I think it's already too fast. But we'll see. I don't hate the changes, but they should make decentralized back into strictly worst IMO. Well, if decentralized is anywhere close to as good as centralization, you should actually just go decentralization, because almost all there's a ton of things that are really good that give you decentralization trend, and so effectively centralization trend was a resource that you had to manage, and that was the interesting thing. It wasn't interesting whether or not to go centralization, it was interesting how to manage your trend. And I also think that it should just be strictly better, or not strictly better, but better. But okay, settle the frontier will no longer empty low-pop provinces. Okay. Estate privileges are removed if the estate doesn't exist in your countries. This was already the case. This is the case, and it's super annoying, because if you have a rebellion... If you have one town or 2 towns or however many towns, and you have a rebellion and the rebellion takes all of your towns and cities, you then have no burghers. So this bricks your estate. And so this bricks all the privileges you've handed out, and it takes forever to re-hand out all the privileges. I think it's actually really annoying. Cabinet actions remove old geography modifiers properly after being reassigned. I think this gets rid of the exploit where you can integrate everything for free. Which, like, we weren't using, but it was present. Higher advisor will no longer create crown estate advisors. This makes sense. Fix new rulers' attributes not applying to the country on ascending the throne. Yikes, but this is good. Centralization now reduces subject loyalty up to 30. Okay, decentralization now increases subject loyalty up to 30. It was up to 20 before. How do we feel about this? So, I mean, I think that the crown power is really good, and proximity is really good. But I guess now if you want to play with subjects, you have to go decentralization. 30 loyalty is a lot, or you just have to take more stuff by hand. It's just a phase, okay, basically. Trade maintenance is 0.5 again? Yeah, but they got rid of its contribution to the economic base, so it's just all free gravy. I'm devastated that you missed the first 4 minutes. Good. Devs seem to be changing things, but don't really know what they're doing. IMO, says Elia. I mean, I think that they know what they're doing. I think that they're a little bit too responsive to people on, like, Reddit and the forums, like, just a little bit too responsive to them, I think, is maybe more the issue. But, because I think that people... Look, I think a lot of people only have like 100 hours of the game, and then they think that they know what's gonna affect what and this type of thing. But now, like, look, with just this balance change, it's probably still better to go centralization. This is my knee-jerk reaction. To be fair, we need to test it, and like, I could be wrong about this, but there's just so many things that give decentralization trend that are actually good, that like, if it's remotely close, you just go decentralization because of the periphery things are stronger for decentralization. And decentralization was already good before. Like, when we did our tier list on values, we had decentralization, like, in the upper 30 or 40% for values. It's just that centralization was so much better, but, like, now it's, like... There's so many things that give decentralization that are good, that it's just, the cost of going centralization is not too high, probably. Or that's, like, intuitively how it feels. Serfdom, for example, because expanding via subjects is really good. Serfdom, for example, is probably better than free subjects, but the cost of going serfdom is too high, such that you often don't want to do it. Were they supposed to address the endless levy spam? Just started the new game, Muscovy and AI instantly after stack wipe. This is on their list of things, but I don't know if they've addressed it yet. Tribes equals best estate. What are you drinking? What does it look like? Petrol. Historically, very centralized countries had large subjects. No, yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a gameplay thing where it's like, they want both the options to be viable, and I don't think you necessarily have to do this in games. Does loyalty only impact the war participation and ability to annex? It also affects how much income you get from them, and they now add to the economic base, and they add to the economic base even if they're disloyal, so it'll slow down your economy. Subjects also pulled you towards decentralization. Bro, you just go decentralization then. Biggest change about loyalty is now you get 0 loyalty from being stronger instead of 30 or 40. You now get 0 loyalty from being stronger instead of 30 or 40. Wow, these are actually big changes. We haven't gotten to that yet, but I'm trying to catch up with the chat a little bit here. Prof Nero, thank you for the follow, big nice, much appreciated. I kind of hate that my colonial subjects are now hard to keep because I'm centralized. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I think the loyalty subject balance just not fit with centralization, decentralization values. If dev means limiting subject use when centralizing, just give up dip cap balance, same as dip relations at EU4. I kind of agree. Don't speak too soon about tax base. I guess we'll get to it when we get to it. Can I be perfectly happy if my subjects just chill at 0 loyalty? No. Luisi's raiding the beta? Yeah. They changed vassal calculations, so now centralization is impossible to have with even an OPM vassal. What? Oh yeah, if you need... Look, if the subjects are giving you trend towards decentralization, yeah, you just, like, can't have... Because there's already so many things that give decentralization trend that are really good, that you, like, often end up with, like, 0.1 or 0.0, like, 3 or something like this trend. And you just sit on that, and then you use your centralization trend like a resource. But if the subjects themselves are giving the trend, you just have to full throw it now. You have to full throw it towards the age of absolutism, basically. And then you start annexing people. I don't really know that, like, serfdom was nerfed to hell with less prosperity? Okay. Well then, I mean, I think you already go free subjects most of the time. Gas lead? Exactly. G Fuel discount code Generalist. The menopause patch? Oh man. When Vic 3 Jabal Shamar? It's up on the channel right now, you could search for it. With even nerfed dev growth, I got Moscow to 85. That's because you get a ton from hosting Parliament. It was like double applying. I don't know if they fixed that it was double applying. I kind of liked it. Because that was one of the ways you could really increase dev a lot in an area is with the parliament. I feel like decentralization should give minimum control. It's a massive patch. I hate values being direct upgrades. You hate values being direct upgrades? You mean one just clearly being better than the other? Yeah. Remove the impact of maximum war exhaustion from centralization and decentralization. Maximum decentralization now recovers estate satisfaction by another 2%. I don't know, they just flipped this on its head. Like, decentralization was already... The point is that both decentralization and... You would push centralization at the start of every game, not because centralization was so much better than decentralization, but because it was just the best value, right? But, like, decentralization was already good. It was already good. Now it's just going to be in reverse. Now I think you just can't go centralization. Rebalance children's education to have more balanced improvement. Matrilineal non-exclusive does not take characters' abilities into account when choosing an heir now. The ruler's diplomatic ability now also impacts subject loyalty. Yeah, now instead of every game starting with you immediately pushing centralization, it's going to start with you immediately pushing decentralization. Yuan starts with 1.2 towards decentralization. Expand on gravel road for every 4 years from Parliament. Yeah. Jesus, Elia? What did Elia say? What? Did Elia get auto-bopped? Oh no. Your pants spontaneously combusted from that lie? Which lie? If decentralization had 5% minimum control, it'd be a much harder choice. Tribes of state have great new privileges. Take a look. Alright, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. But this is like... I don't... Look, I would rather live in a world where you push centralization every time than a world where you push decentralization every time. But, okay, so it's... They threw so much at decentralization. It's so much better than... Like, this is such a heavy-handed, like, adjustment. Like, this alone is a heavy-handed adjustment, and then if subjects also affect the trend, it's, like, a big deal, and then, like, another 2% estate satisfaction. And the fact that, look, Crown Power is really good early on. This is fair, but, like, 50%, you can get a bunch from, like, a Crown Power character in charge of Army, Navy, Cabinet, this type of stuff, unless they nerfed those two, which maybe they did. And the proximity is really... The proximity is good, but it's not that good at the opening of the game. It's good when you stack a lot of it. Yeah. Yeah, like, the thing is like, if you just make centralization slightly worse than decentralization, then the meta becomes to go decentralization as quickly as possible, right? Because the thing is just both the values are good. Land value and naval value are strong, but you can't really actively push them that easily. And centralization, decentralization are really strong. I thought decentralization comes later on in the game once you have proximity and control tech. It's like the reverse. Like, maybe after Age of Absolutism you flip if you can, but like, I don't know. I loaded a game as Portugal and I have 85 small subjects, and that alone pushes you about -2 towards decentralization. If you're a big country, you couldn't take the 30 loyalty debuff and use vassals for conquest and integration. No, because it's going to push you towards decentralization anyways. Like, I don't... Like, just reading this, like, I think it's already just... Hey, Gene, how's it going? I think it's already too big a deal. Pushing decentralization seems really odd for the time period. Most monarchs' states wanted to have more power, nobles. And also, in the net, the things that push you towards decentralization... Like, just evaluating the things that push the trend, the decentralization pushing stuff is just better. Like, yeah. French appanages no longer give -1% crown power, they give -2.5%. The 30 loyalty nerf on centralization is insane. Yeah, I'm like, just reading through this, I mean, it's gonna change, like, I don't... It seems like you just push they've just created this. If they wanted to make diverse gameplay, they've literally just created the same thing in the reverse direction, I think. Unless they want you to not expand via subjects so you can go crown power. I guess that's it. They want to make expanding via subjects worse or something like this. But, like, multiculturalism changed in the first Vic 3 patch? Yeah. Used to be able to just pass it on game start. Like, 1.0 Vic 3 was insane. Estate recovery is the better modifier. Oh, it's not estate satisfaction equilibrium? It's estate recovery by 2%? Dude, that's insane. Yeah, I mean, like, okay, you just clearly push decentralization, like, to the max. This is like, they gave so much to decentralization. I don't know. Like, you just push it 100%. Communal lands is back on the menu. Communal lands is, like, necessary. It feels like they brought DDR Jake back to make balance, aka make the things more balanced. Centralization should work for monarchies and dictatorships. Yeah. The random DDR Jake stray. I don't even know who DDR Jake is, but, like, the stray is kind of funny. But, yeah, this feels very swingy in terms of changes. I mean, like, just reading it, it honestly seems like the margin by which centralization was better than decentralization, or more clear a push, now is just, like, completely in the other direction. Maybe decentralization is still better in terms of what it gives you. I don't think it is, but it's just not worth it's not worth pushing it if subjects give you a ton. Satisfaction recovery, yeah, that's insane. Like, doesn't also nerf land-based procs? Yeah, let's kind of go through the changes. I won't necessarily read every comment. And so, yeah. It's like the devs were seeing influencer videos saying how easy was it to create centralized states in the first 100 years, and knee-jerk to the opposite direction. This seems so heavy-handed. Like, you need, like, a softer touch when it comes to game balance, I feel like. Because you can always adjust something, like, halfway in between where you think it should be, and then adjust it the rest of the way if it's not producing a big enough effect for you. Maximum Kaylin, thank you for the follow. Alright, each 20k pop instead of 200k gives you one extra free building level in the location. Huge buff for Asia. Implemented... I kind of like this, but, like, also I kind of think that pops should be nerfed, but I don't think it should be nerfed by max building level. I think max building level felt really bad, so I do like this. So that's why they put it on a beta. Yeah, I mean, fair. I don't even know if I'll play the beta because, like, or I don't think I'll swap to the beta on my, like, the run that I'm playing right now. Yeah. Or I mean, I would just have to instantly push decentralization from where I'm at with the Venice run. Implemented a system where prosperity decays down to 0 by default if no increases. I think that I like this, but you're usually having an increase. Made a formula for economic base that has different scale on tax volume, pop and trade. We've seen this where what they were proposing. I think it was speeding up the economy way too much because it basically had the contribution to economic base from tax, which can like triple your income in terms of like the math and how it works. Because it applies at the margin. If you were taxing 25% of the economic base, right, and then your sliders were, like, let's say 20% of the economic base, right? Your margin is 5% of the economic base. And so if they make tax contribute half as much to the economic base, then suddenly your slider cost effectively would go from 20% to 10%, and your margin would go from 5% to 15%, like tripling in value. Tweaked cell location acceptance criteria. This is good. It was super exploitable. Balanced pop growth values to compensate for low prosperity levels. So more pop growth when you have low prosperity. Fair. Removed some demands for some goods for slaves and tribesmen and made the threshold and made some thresholds for soldiers. Okay. Reduced nobles' demand for lacquerware to 10% of what it was before. This seems good. Lacquerware is like kind of insane. You just ignore it. Added trade profit and subject tax levels to be part of the economic base calculations. This makes it so like instead of like 20% income, they give you like 16% or something. But I think it also puts you underwater on colonies. Or will often put you underwater on colonies. I don't know if I hate that though. That maybe seems okay. Further rebalancing the economic base and taking building-based countries into account. Alright, fair enough. Can you make the text a little bigger? Yeah, sorry. How's that? I think my head will be cutting off some of it, but maybe this is an improvement. But, yeah. I don't know, we're just gonna push decentralization every game. Just based on the reading. And it's, like, you can live without the procs or the crown power, but I don't think you, like, live without the subject play patterns. And so if they wanted both to feel viable, I don't think they've achieved that. Like, just reading through it, I guess I could be wrong. Maybe if I drop in a game, I'll, like, really miss pushing centralization. Alright, can no longer build or delete buildings and locations under siege? Sure. Building automation no longer changes the employment system. Thank God. I didn't know that it did because we didn't automate, but that seems like a good change. Females don't get pregnant. Womp womp. Diplomacy. Fixed AHRE votes after long reigns for previous ruler accidentally pumped up the GP score weight. Remove food access. Oh, is that why? Oh. Interesting. Is that why France and England would just randomly get elected sometime? Okay. Remove food access diplomatic action if you're fighting in a war with the other country. It seems like that makes sense. Can no longer sell location when at war. Fix static antagonism related to societal values. Subject actions get cancelled after the subject is cancelled. Sure. Lacking rivals will no longer make you conciliatory, but instead make you lose prestige. Damn it! Was I the only one who was just not rivaling people so I could push conciliatory? I was just like, oh man, free conciliatory push, this is great. I mean, like, that play pattern was insipid. Like, you not rivaling people intentionally to push conciliatory was silly. I think that they felt that belligerent was way better, and I think belligerent's just worse. I have a feeling that developers are just following the loudest voices on the forums, hoping to plug holes with changes and open up new ones in the process. I also think that some people on the forums are just, like, wrong. You can push centralization during court and country? Yeah, maybe this is how you approach it now. And maybe the gameplay pattern's better. Can no longer... Lambert raised a good point, can no longer delete buildings at besieged locations. He said buildings should be built/deleted locations with 90% rebel progress. This is probably good. Cabinet members pushing values to OP. Parliament law changes 2 to 3 at once to OP. I mean, it's like probably the best cabinet action in the game, but it's like somewhat limited, and I do think you should have some amount of agency over your values. I think you should be able to change your values, so like, I think it feels bad from a gameplay perspective. I challenge Generalist to go to the beta and try and get any subject loyal while being centralized. Yeah, no, I think I'm just not gonna be centralized anymore. Like, fuck, am I being nice, strat? Yeah. Yeah. They've never rivaled anyone. I think you do eventually, because you want the antagonism reduction, but only once you've already squeezed as much conciliatory out of it as possible. Diplo rep feels so hard to push. It's so good. Not being belligerent was key in becoming Diplo hegemon, which is one of the best due to the 0.4 diplomats. Yeah, I really like it. Lambert wants to see it. Okay. But okay, conciliatory no longer increases subject loyalty, but instead increases diplo rep. Didn't it already? Remove the base diplomatic reputation for belligerent versus conciliatory. Okay. Conciliatory versus belligerent now impacts how much of an impact the shared border has. Was that by impacts? I assume that it means regarding antagonism. Reworked a bit how subject loyalty is impacted by relative power, and made keeping subject loyalties a bit more fun. I don't like this word "fun" to describe it because I don't know what that means. Fun as in challenging, or fun as in easy, or right now it's really unfun, I guess, that you have such a large disparity of at war versus not at war as a consequence of levies. I think that in our Venice game, though, the issue is we haven't upgraded our levies, so when we go to war, we raise our levies, but now the raised levies don't do anything because they're unupgraded. And we don't actually fight with the levies, we just raise them for the extra loyalty. So I think that's actually... Yeah, taking the location from a revolter is now minus 95% cost, not plus 95. Yeah, this seems much better. I'm okay with decentralization being OP a part of the game and then swing back. Prosperity change is hard to deal with, but decentralization being OP is okay. Well, I think that the reasons for... I don't know what the design intent is behind the changes. If the goal was to make them both feel viable, I don't think that they've done that. If the goal was to make you be decentralized early and then centralized later, then I think maybe they've done it. But, like, the huge loyalty, like, crush means that you have, like, a subject phase, and then you either completely abandon subject play, or you just... to get decentralization later, or you just never get decentralization. Fun isn't a chore. Fun isn't Dwarf Fortress. Fun is a buzzword. Yeah, fun. Fun, fun. Yeah, you guys get it. Is it possible to keep subjects loyal while at war due to them raising like 400k? Yeah, you have to give them all scootage is like the approach. But okay. Small drift towards decentralization. I think the cost of going centralization is just going to be too high now. Like, even if centralization is better, which I'm not necessarily convinced, it's just too much higher, yeah. Civil wars now automatically end when a union between a tag and a civil war is about to happen. Civil war is always the one getting annexed in this context. Okay. This seems fine. Raise levies for the subject no longer impact subject loyalty. Okay, do like this change. Assuming it's applying to both. Like, your raised levies and their raised levies shouldn't affect it. Adjust the colonial nation's loyalty values to take. Reduced a lot of subject loyalty from advances. If a country moves its capital, anyone who knew the old capital now discovers the new capital. Fair enough. Border feud CB works directly. I don't know if I've ever used that CB. Enables the reconquest of subject from subject to the overlord. Enable the reconquest of subject actions from subject to the overlord. Request of subject actions. Enable the request of subject actions from subject to the overlord? I don't know what this means. Can't leave coalition mid-war. This seems good. Fix immediate full war score versus tiny nation with no cores. Conquistadors will now become normal location-based countries when they become a colonial nation. Sure, this makes sense. Yeah. I mean, maybe they just want you to have to go decentralization early, and this is always meant to be like a late game thing, but I just, like, it seems like you just don't do it now. It seems that the drift towards decentral per subject is flat, not scaled too. Can easily amount to 1.0 per month towards decimal for Yuan or Bohemia. Yeah, I think you'll intentionally want to just create as many subjects as you can early on, just to push to 100. Because it's not giving you a minus to proximity or minus towards crown power. Like, decentralization is still good. And decentralization was good before. The issue was that centralization was way better. So, and because centralization was the best value, you just pushed it initially. And crown power was really, really strong early. But the crown power falls off. Like, the proximity is like... First 75 years of the game, the crown power is insane. But after that, the crown power is like really not that insane. And the proximity is not really like... It's really strong, but it's like not turbo strong until like 300-400 years into the game. When you start getting a lot more of the modifiers, you get a lot of the modifiers in H5. And then like, okay, so the majority of the game, like decentralization is just like better on top of it actually being like impossible to push centralization or the investment cost is too high. Did they nerf France? Oh boy, they kicked France in the nuts, yeah. France got uber kicked in the nuts. The appanages give minus 2.5%. Crown power instead of -1. France will have like perma 0 crown power. I think some of the numbers in the patch notes are different in game. At least I noticed centralization versus decentralization numbers different. That's fair because it is like a beta. It means you can threaten more if your vassals have cores on the enemy probably. Oh, interesting. The subject can request the overlord to do certain actions. I think that means the overlord can declare for vassals reconquest. You already could do that. You skipped over the characters being primary culture, primary accepted culture and society category. Finally conquering the new world doesn't make 80% of my nobles natives. That's good. Rip centralization meta. Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't like the values changes unless the design intent is to make like centralization unplayable. Centralization probably great on the Netherlands? I don't think so. I think expansion is still strong, and the way you want to expand is via subjects, and if you can't do that, like... Yeah. Seems that the bare minimum, absolutism in court and country is the earliest so you can reverse. Yeah, but the problem is you have to annex all your subjects as well. Early centralization probably great for tall. Yeah, I mean, you have to want to play tall with 0 subjects, I guess. But I think that that's, like, not a very effective way of playing, but... It means you can't do colonial stuff anymore, too. No, only vassals and fiefs count towards the flat contribution. Yeah. 4%, that's bananas. What was 4%? Oh, let's continue on. Manually doing a shadow retreat now costs 10% loss strength instead of 50%. Nice. It was still sometimes... If you knew you were going to get stacked wipe, you would still do it, but this is nice. Being able to recruit from to a boarded army from a location. Oh, interesting. Fixed exiled armies in place you want to declare war on. Levies now disband if the locations they come from are lost. Nice. Completely refactoring several combat algorithms like damage dealing, initiative, combat speed, and exposing the info to make more helpful tooltips. Nice. Currently, initiative's not very good. Initiative won't be good until they fix the fact that overstacking the box is useful, which is not intended. Fixed an issue where military tactics had impact on naval battles. Cost of transporting levies now scales with the size of levy, making them the same cost to transport as regulars. Okay, so that means if you are doing anything overseas, it's going to be really important you're not using levies now. Reduce the age penalties for levies for 10% instead of 20%. French crown power is 4% now, allegedly. Oh, at game start? Yeah. So, like, that's minus 21% tax efficiency at game start. Aren't most countries going to be kicked in the nuts in the age of absolutism if at full decentralization? I'm not sure. This is why I'm glad I don't metagame in a single-player RPG strategy games. I just play how I want to play. Yeah, no, if you want to play how you want to play, then I'm not necessarily... Then, like, playing tall with pure centralization is probably okay. Allow inland exploration, hell yeah, brother. Fishing village now applies... What? 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 Is this per level or just once? If this is per level, this might be kind of bananas. I don't know if I hate it, though. Pops will no longer lose literacy if max literacy was reduced. That's interesting. Change the modifier's Renaissance to be a cultural influence percentage instead of flat, as originally intended. Nice. Navies no longer keep army-based countries without armies alive. Fair. Happy Monday, Magi. I was chatting with a friend earlier, and I do kind of come to the conclusion I used to have about policies and laws to get 100% centralization because decentralization laws were typically better. Yeah, no, I think it was an interesting gameplay pattern to like play around maintaining constant centralization trend, and now like I think that gameplay pattern. I think that the game regarding centralization versus decentralization is now less interesting because you just take all the centralization things that are good, all the decentralization things that are good, because it doesn't matter because you're going to trend towards decentralization anyways, and you always go decentralization, rather than actually having to like consider and think about your stuff. Also, nerf stability, you will have to pay now or you'll barely recover. Okay, well, that's good with this. That's good alongside the fact that they like doubled the size of your the amount you would get from tax or something like this, effectively. Or like they have the amount that tax contributed to the economic base, so they have the value that tax increased your sliders. What do you mean about overstacking the box? So when you click auto balance, it'll put a number of guys on each front with a cap equal to the frontage, and putting more guys in the in each front is actually effective, and so you should just overstack it. I'd usually go favor the ruler with the first parliament, remove a few decentralization privileges, which allows you to push to 40, and then just get to 100 through centralization through events and gravel road. Yeah, this is how you do it. Hitting 100 centralization isn't as hard as the people on YouTube said. Well, I was on YouTube and I said it. I did it in the first 50 years with my first video. Womp womp. But fishing's back on the menu, boys. Per level, it's 0.02 per level. That's not insane. That's not insane. We're okay with that, I think. Yeah, fishing village at 20 levels gives the same as docks and wharf for urban. Yeah, and this is a huge buff to high pop countries, because on high pop countries you can get like 20 levels. And so it's going to be like 0.4 harbor capacity. Is Vic 3 content over, or is it EU5 here for, by the way, I'll support you whatever you play. I'm going to be playing more EU5 than Vic 3 because, I get a lot more viewers playing this right now. Mescar XD, thank you for the follow, Big Dice. If I got anywhere near the, well, first of all, I in the aggregate, I'm having more fun playing EU5 right now, but if I were to play one game for fun, like right now, I would play Vic 3. Because I've been playing, like, I've been doing, like, 15 hours of EU5 stuff, like, a day for, like, months now. But, that said, like, I also have, like, close to 4K Vic hours, and I think that a lot of the stuff I find really interesting about Vic, in terms of exploration and figuring stuff out, like, I've already done, too. But I really love some of the new stuff they're doing with politics. I think it's really interesting. I'm excited for the patch on the 11th. But it's probably going to be more EU5, because I'm just getting way more views doing EU5 stuff. France has 0 crown power on full decentralization. They'll still survive, because subject loyalty gain is decent. Yeah. Mesker XD, thank you for the follow. Big nice. I can't wrap my head around it. If they want a decentralization buff, it wouldn't fit the RP early game when you are playing a country with using subjects. Go decentralized, and vice versa when playing tall. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know the forum discussion that was around this exactly. Because I don't remember any forum or Reddit posts that were super complaining about centralization. Tax base is drastically changed. It seems like it's, based on reading, it seems like it's changed in a way that, like, super increases the economy size. I'm doing a Venice run in 1420, went from 2600 economic base to 400, so I'm happy, not gonna lie. Yeah, no, trading is, like, free gravy now. The economy seems at least twice as fast, which, like, I think that you hit the point where you don't run out of money ever again if you're playing a relatively strong nation in, like, the early 1500s. So, like, I wasn't wanting to see faster economy, really. Having 100 centralization first 100 years allows you to have 50% more crown power early. Yeah. No, I mean, it's really good early, but, like, it's just not going to be worth it early. I honestly hated vassal cheese, never wanted more than 3 to 4. It's not cheese, it's strategic. Well, they want you to play with vassals in the early game. Because you can't get a lot of control to places anyways. They started doing betas, they did. Is the stuff from Vic 3 Summer Conference you could talk about, or is it still under NDA? It's under NDA. And what do you think of centralization versus decentralization? Doesn't centralization always better because it was historically better? Yeah, this is kind of what I think. My perspective on it, which I talked about before, was that I think you should just push... I think that the interesting part should be not whether or not to go decentralized, it's like what concessions do you make to maintain positive centralization trend, and I think it's okay to have one value just be better than the other. And it seems like, it seems like they're not trying to balance them to make them just as good as each other, because decentralization is just clearly, like, better now. And I guess they just want you to be decentralized, at least in the early game, if not all game. Like, I don't know. They want it to be perfectly balanced. I don't know if they want it to be perfectly balanced. If they want it to be perfectly balanced, this does not seem like a good approach. I think that I think that seems unlikely it's the case. Trade profits seem to be adding the economic base according to the notes, so trade doesn't get away from 100% scot-free. Oh, okay. I have to take a closer look at this. I thought it was just free juice. Yeah, but making everything vassals, at least, is how it made the game feel cheesy. I think that was fine, because, like, that's, like, how it was. Like, the environment of the 1300s was still very feudal. You didn't get really these centralized, massive states that's, like, intended. If eco is going too fast to be interesting late game, what would you suggest? Scaling the cost of buildings or something else? I think the way that economic base scales is, like... I think the way your expenses scale is, like, too easily to kind of exploit. But to be fair, someone said that it's harder to get stability now, so if it's harder to get stability, then maybe, like, your costs scale up a little bit better. Sorry to tell you, but decentralization with dog poop before it. No, well, the value itself is good. It's just the issue is centralization was way better. But... it's free juice, it's based off the profit rather than the total value of trade. It depends on how much you're paying for sliders. But let's continue. Remove some Mamluk alliances with Beyliks that were too weak. This seems fine so that Ottomans can consolidate Anatolia better. Arab Brabant, Aragonese localization locations Aragon into medieval Aragonese, made a subject with content with instances with names like to use whatever name, remove duplicate character setup, corrected death days. Alright, this is just kind of some stuff. Italian war situation, planned campaign in Italy now requires the actor to not have levies raised. This seems fine. Fixed Western Schism getting lots of support when for whoever had the most Diplo rep only. This seems fine. AI will use the action. Rise of the Turks incorrectly displayed incorrect end requirements when the strongest Beyliks, not the Ottomans. This seems like mainly bug fixes here, not anything too crazy. And bug fixes to a specific one. Fix Sengoku, missing a clan, showing a blank one. Yeah, once Japan gets super fixed, excited for doing, like, a Japan run. Disasters increase the chance of Castilian Civil War, spread of Islam. But this just seems, yeah, tweaks and stuff. Sorry, excuse me. Decentralization gave you nothing useful before? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Subject loyalty and estate satisfaction were both really good. Like, decentralization was definitely in the upper, like, 40% of values. Like, if you could just get the national modifier of the values, and you're comparing all the values to each other, like, it was at least in the top 40%. I would cheat all my laws and proofs to decentralization on my save. How is stability harder to get in this patch? Someone told me that you had to pay more on the slider. But, like, before you would pay nothing on the slider, so any amount is more. Centralization is still better than decentralization, and this is right now perfectly balanced. The cost of going centralization is too high. It's not worth the trade-off. Like, yeah. A 75% tax base, they upped from the proposed 50% of your tax base then. I mean, it's still, I think economy is still going to be faster. Yeah, I think we gotta read through though, a little bit. We don't want to fall too far behind because we do want to get through this. Decentral will be useless unless in 1600s. It's going to be useless early on. And then, even then, like, by a certain point, it's like, you already have too many subjects, and then you have to, like, annex them all or something before you, like, can push centralization. And then pushing centralization, it's not like it's instant. It's still going to take you, like, 50 to 100 years to do it. So, like, if you're starting to do it in, like, 1700, it just doesn't make sense because you're not going to actually get there until the end. I think I'm confused about how impactful subject loyalty is beyond tax. I've never really had a subject seriously try and rebel, even though they've been at like 20 loyalty with all your vassals because of strength. Well, then you're not annexing your subjects, I guess. It also scales how much income they give you. If they're 5%, between 50 and 0 loyalty, it linearly scales the income they give you, so... And this is relevant considering they now add to the economic base 10% of their income. Because if you have a bunch of disloyal subjects, it's actually going to put you underwater on expenses. Which makes sense. But, like, if you had a subject at 25 loyalty, they only pay you half as much. So... yeah, centralization changes have ruined the game. I mean, I think it's kind of fine, but it just makes it so you just go decentralization every time. If the intention was to make stuff feel even, I think it misses. Improved authorization for expanding Shinto action, fixed independence movement expectance criteria, duplication action for joining the patriarchates. AI will no longer constantly propose. AI satisfaction hit for votes in unions will now only apply a vote once. Lordship in Ireland. Spammy lordship in Ireland message. No longer deadlock union members. Alright. The unified external diplomacy policy action now makes AI less likely to declare wars, as it adds extra aggressiveness and carefulness. Oh, interesting. Block Shogun from being able to get claims from Imperial Court. That makes Shinto like super OP. That's kind of funny. So the Shogun doesn't get access to like the best thing from them. You're annexing subjects actually? Maybe I was just lucky. Well, the game doesn't let you annex subjects below 50 loyalty, so you either were not having subjects at 20 loyalty or you weren't annexing them. Yeah, they also won't fight in your wars, but that's kind of whatever. I'm super fine with the new eco base, except the embraced institution stuff. I don't know why they slapped that on. I'll have to take a look. I think generally embracing is kind of cheap, like, in the late game. decentralization uniformly is better uniformly now, or would you say some nations better centralization? I think if you have a playstyle where you don't have subjects, centralization is going to be better. But like, I think that that playstyle is not very effective, and so if what you mean by playing certain countries, you mean not having any subjects, then yeah, it will be better for some countries. But otherwise, like, if you're using subjects, it seems it's just all the things that, in the aggregate, the things that give decentralization trend are just stronger, and so like you have to make concessions to push centralization, and it's not going to be worth the trade-off. Yeah. So every embraced institution now, it's 5% to your economic base. Oh, whoa, whoa. Hey. I kind of like that. I'm into that. Except for, I think it might create weird incentives where, like, you don't embrace professional army. Or meritocracy. Might create weird, perverse incentives. I think in general that's a good way to, like, slow down the economy. I think that that's a fine and fair way to do it. All your subjects were over 51, now there's one at 17? Yeah. The Pavia expulsion of the dynasty now requires Milan to have the same government type. No longer center on civil war. I'm not sure how closely we're gonna read all of these. Because I don't think that these, like, are going to be broad stroke, like, relevant. They're, like, relevant to specific countries. I'm just kind of skimming through them. That's why I'm not reading them out loud. But yeah. Let's all become Luddites, basically. I mean, like, the thing is most of what is in the military trees isn't as useful in later ages, because a lot of it's military units, so if you can just skip a military tree for an age, like, it actually might make sense. What's the threshold control under which it's better to vassalize? It's a little bit complicated. It's probably somewhere between 15 and like 25%, or 15 and 30%, something like this. But there's like multiple variables, and it depends on how much control your subject is going to have. The bigger the vassal you create, the worse the threshold is. Like, if you make a vassal that's gonna have 60 average loyalty or average control, then that's, like, not much better than your 20 average control or whatever. So a nation with 100% centralization, I should basically be running all integration with almost no vassals or fiefdoms. Well, if you have 100 centralization, you should always maintain positive centralization trend. So you should never have more vassals or fiefdoms than would allow you. Then you could. You should never have more vassals and fiefdoms such that you have a trend towards decentralization. So. Any nation stacks proximity needs centralization. Well, everyone stacks proximity, but it's not like it gets better the more the modifier you have. Like, the first 10%'s not that strong. Is France still going to be a monster every game? No, France has got like 0 crown power now. They're probably going to get run over. Eco is not faster because you have a ton of crown power. You will not have a ton of crown power. All my runs are squashed eco now. Unless they got rid of all the cabinet and like admiral and general stuff, then I think it's fine. So the best fighter now to push is land versus naval and just let decentralization push itself? Yeah, probably. Victory devs tomorrow gave industry ban plus 1 million minting bonus because we don't like LF being too strong. This is what the decentralization changes feel like. I mean, they feel like the intent is actually for you just not to be able to go decentralization until the late game. And if that's not the intent, I think that yeah. Fix the localization of Latin Empire formable. Implementation of Peasant Republic now removes any other major reform. That makes sense. Romania is a level 3 formable, enabling Transylvania and Moldavia to form it. This seems good. Made the following reforms free by giving +1 reform slot each. Alright, these are all better. The government reform of Soviet Godspot of Novgorod is no longer a major reform. Novgorod also seems like really cracked. We got some content for Moldova and stuff like this. Parliament issues sponsor a trade expedition will now construct a market village or marketplace in the capital if no building like that already exists. This seems cool. It seems kind of small, but okay. EU will probably be fine if they roll tax back to 50% instead of 75% or cut institutions to 2 I think it'll be fine with it at 5%, man. I like, one of the things I don't like about the economy is that it feels like the growth is super stepladder-y rather than linear. And just stepladder's super hard when you pick up certain techs. It doesn't feel very smooth. Colonies don't count towards decentralized, that is correct. Only vassals and fiefdoms. Hey, Sharpener107, thank you for the membership. Big nice, much appreciated, my guy. So theoretically, marches are really good. Yeah, this is another point. You can't really annex marches, or it's generally not very easy to annex marches, but yeah, having really big fat marches maybe makes sense. Like, because your ability to turn them into vassals, if you have a lot of subjects, you can't turn them into vassals very easily later. But what you can do is you can make, like, a big march and only have like 3 to 4 marches, and then flip one march to be a vassal, integrate them, then flip another march to be a vassal, integrate them, and once you finish integrating them, you create a new march. And so maybe this is the correct play pattern. You could push centralization if you have like 3 subjects and 2 of them are marches and 1 of them is a vassal, and you're always integrating one. And you use a lot more cabinet action. Like, maybe this is the way to play if you want to try and push centralization and there's some sort of strategy there. I think it's probably not worth it, but okay. House of Parliament now employs 200 nobles instead of 2,000. I wasn't building that building because I like to be able to host parliaments in non-capital areas, but that's less important now than it was before, and I didn't even notice those 2,000 nobles. That's so many nobles. I should have been building it. Another thing is, your subjects get released with the same values that you have, so it's better to have subjects with centralization, I guess. But then you're not having a lot of subjects. Yeah. And there's also less loyalty in the tree, too, according to them. Just want to say thank you for all the content for EU5. You're very welcome. You've been best content creator I've ran into, and I appreciate everything you do. Thank you so very much. Much appreciated, my guy. To be fair, the loss of 34 loyalty in my worst vassal is now accompanied by a net or plus 11 in crown power. Like the percentage, not actual crown power, right? Hellenic Faith now correctly grants infantry combat ability instead of levy efficacy. Changing religions will now automatically remove any active excommunication. It seems nice. Alright. I don't know, actually. If the King of France or the King of England says F you to the Pope, wouldn't, after getting excommunicated and leaves the religion, wouldn't all the other countries still be mad at him? I don't mind the penalties for scaling, but they have made tax too weak and trade too strong now. I don't know about that. I would have to take a closer... I have to take a look at it in game, I guess. The thing is trade is like free gravy, but also for most runs, like tax has been 80 to 90% of your income. And if they want it to be like 50-50-ish, then, you know. What's a marché? Do we have that in EU5? While colonies don't give the decentralization, they still get the -30 from max... Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Are there any examples of unique subjects that would be exempt? The only one I could think of is appanages. Dominions. Dominions? Actually, anyone who can do dominions is so much stronger now. England can do dominions. Oh, England gets to go centralization because they make dominions instead of vassals and fiefs. And France gets to make appanages. No, England and France, they've been buffed. No. Nah, Castile, you're just gonna make colonies in Africa? No. Except I think they made it so you can't. Colonies in North Africa and you... Well, actually, I think you're just gonna make... Oh my god. No. I know what the metagame's actually gonna be. You're gonna make marches, and instead of integrating them, you're just gonna seize their territory. Oh, Jesus. Not like this. Because they haven't made it so you can't take, like, a march's territory. The problem with marches is you can't annex them, but you actually just... Everybody's a march, and you just take their territory. That might be the way you're supposed to expand now. God, that's... If you want to push centralization. And then once they're down on one location, you just release them and annex them. I'm assuming marches not counting towards decentralization is an oversight. Ah, maybe. I mean, the fact that you could just seize territory from them, like, is gonna make an insipid gameplay pattern now. Yeah. Max Diplo spending gives plus 30. Doesn't it give plus 40? Do they nerf it? Will you try out this new patch? Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to play my current Venice run into this patch, though. That seems like just a massive headache from subject loyalty perspective. France will not be fun. You're stuck with aristocracy and decentralization forever. No choice. Well, that doesn't really matter because everyone's stuck with decentralization. Yeah, one location marches everywhere. Let's go. Secret France buffs? Yeah, they get decentralization fastest. I was already seizing seizing territories from vassals. I was doing it too, or I was not doing it because I thought that was just like too strong and kind of a silly gameplay pattern. But yeah, I think that this has been correct. Take March territory, then release the OLM March to get peace out to get big war opponent. Thoughts on tributaries as subject type? Better now, I guess. Dibble spending has been plus 30 since at least release. I could have sworn I like looked at it yesterday and it was plus 40. I haven't heard Generalists so upset since Vic 3 devs didn't add limited scaling wars in Vic 3. Since they didn't nerf or buff the chainsaws. Yeah, I don't know. Dubious claims on province and parliament per province. CBs are no longer fabricatable. Good. Negotiate succession law. Now forms a player when the succession law cannot be adopted. This seems good. The opinion penalty from not fulfilling the promise of land does not decay. Does not decay by 1 each year. Demand unlawful territory. Diplomatic action will now release a new tag. Nice. Force peace. Captive minimum value of excommunication hits to minus 200. Alright. Curie action blocked. negotiate succession law now changes your heir to the policy that's actually compatible with your religion. In other words, if you are Orthodox and your junior partner is Catholic, you would force them to take the same religion group policy instead of the same religion policy. That seems good. I doubt that is the gameplay pattern. It will be hard to keep vassals that are barely loyal. You mean marches. I'm talking about marches. But yeah, maybe it'll be... With the minus 30, maybe it's hard to keep them loyal. You still probably, I guess, expand a little bit more... And actually actively integrate stuff with cabinet instead of 100% subject expansion, but... Denmark OP, they start with max decentralization. They're already there, baby. I'm pretty sure it's plus 40 loyalty as well. It's 30 loyalty, 0.4 diplomats. Yeah, maybe that's where I'm getting confused. I'm thinking I'm mixing them up. Fix an issue with Renaissance Mamluks only having 50 men and tweak their extra bonuses. Alright. Expand implausible areas of spawning the Renaissance to all of northern Italy. Unlock warrior societies. Unlock 2 advances from Sicily and Naples to formables as well. Corrected many instances of opinion of previous when it was applied incorrectly for AI weights. Alright. I think we're going to skip through the art. Not that it was very long anyways. Bohemia nerfed, basically. Just instant well, no, I mean, like, everyone's just decentralized. I guess maybe it's hard to annex them, but I think you just go decentralized and play through the vassals, actually, just... Yeah, and there's, like, less stuff in the tech tree for vassal loyalty, subject loyalty. Fixed an issue where the AI would incorrectly think that crown power would influence absolutism versus liberalism before the available age. Huh. Ottomans will no longer switch their religion away from Sunnism when playing with historical AI. Thank God. I was tired of seeing Orthodox Ottomans. Fixed an issue where AI would incorrectly use cultural assimilation and cabinet action with minus 100% assimilation speed. AI score for research modifier, yeah. Fixed issue where AI Ottomans would pay to get CBs against target that they had a stronger alliance than they do. This makes sense. Fixed issues where large cities would be too desirable for AI to take peace deals, causing border warfare. Fixed an issue, usually they're more expensive to take. Fixed an issue where AI scripted rules for taking wars, defending. Fixed the issue where AI would improve relations with nearby countries and immediately cancel them. That's not good. AI Ottomans will now prefer create claim CB against provinces that are not Constantinople, as it often causes them to lose war against Byzantium. This makes a lot of sense, because you can't get the war goal. Bohemia nerfed because of HRE changes? Oh, what change specifically are you referring to? Beta looks OP for Asia? Yeah, the extra building levels is insane. Get your centralization running now. I think that's their intent. Yeah, I mean, like, that... It's what it seems like to me, but, like, honestly, it seems like you probably just never push centralization now. Everyone is decentralized except England with dominions. Ottomans over, meta over. Yeah. When will they nerf seize territory? I don't know. I haven't been abusing it. I feel like... This is a very generalist focused perspective, and I'm probably just have like a warped perspective on this, but honestly, it feels like whatever I'm doing gets nerfed. And I'm not taking like land from subjects right now, even though I'm aware of it, because I think it's silly. And I've seen like a lot of other videos and YouTubers and like comments saying, oh, you just take land, and it's like... I think it's like, or you sell provinces. To be fair, sell provinces got an adjustment. Selling provinces was super overtuned. Asking people for money is super overtuned. There's a lot of things that are just like overtuned that I'm not abusing. But like, taking locations is like one of them. But that's probably just me having a warped perspective, and they're not like just nerfing everything that I touch. It's just I notice all the things that I'm doing that get nerfed more. I saw some people pointing out that Delhi Sultanate would flip Hindu too. Make things easier for the AI. The thing is, if you're Muslim specifically, can stack more tolerance of heathens than any other religion, and so you actually can expand easiest if you're Muslim into other faiths without having to deal with like rebels and stuff like this. Centralization is still good around 1700, as you can get integrate area cab action. I agree with I'm 100% in agreement with like the kind of like logic of that, but the weight of all your previous actions is still like carrying through, right? And so like if you enter the 1600s with like 50 subjects, right? Then you have to annex all these subjects. You would have to play in a very specific way where, like, you're trying to finish annexing all your subjects by the 1600s, and so then you're missing out on a lot of subject expansion. And maybe it's just a timing thing, but also, how long is it going to take to push centralization from... I agree that it's good, but just, like, in the practice, how long will it take you to push centralization if you are only starting to push it in 1650, practically speaking? It's like, okay, maybe you push it in 50 years, but then you have to have all your subjects annexed by the 1600s, so this means you have to stop expanding via subjects in like 1500 or something to be done annexing them by 1650, or just not expand that much. So like the timing windows to by 1700. I agree it's better at 1700. I just think that the actions you have to take to be there by 1700 is probably not as strong, is like the way I'm thinking through it. Because I think that's like a binary flip though. Like as soon as you get integrate area cab action, I think that you suddenly prefer just direct taking land instead of subject expansion. I just think that your ability to go from 100 decentralized to centralized before the game's end is maybe not strong enough to like justify the attempt. Right? Because it's better to be on 100 decentralized than it is to be 50 decentralized. And probably also like 20 centralized. So the entire time you're moving from 100 decentralization to 100 centralization, there's a certain breakpoint where the centralization gets better, but like the entire segment where you're moving from that, you're weaker. And are you weaker by a large enough margin in the, let's call it 100 years that you push? Are you weaker by a larger margin than you get stronger by the end, let's say in 1720, when you finish pushing centralization, that you're stronger than you would be fully like decentralized? Like in terms of total EV, is it plus EV or minus EV? I don't know, having not played it. It's just like intuitively it seems like it's going to be hard for it to be plus EV unless you have a bunch of tools to push centralization, which I think Court and Court and Country does give you centralization pushes, right? I can't remember because usually I'm maxed out anyways. But maybe that's just the way you do it. It's like Court and Country hits, and then you swap. And you try and make sure you don't have too many subjects by the time Court and Country hits, or something like this. I don't know. I agree that seizing territory in OP makes no sense, but it feels like expansion is slow otherwise. I feel like a necessary band-aid. I think it's supposed to be slow, though. I don't know. I think it's more diplomat efficient than annexing people, so like you should just like always be seizing on territory, but it seems like such an insipid gameplay pattern, too. Like, it doesn't seem like a good simulation at all. I don't like it. With Court and Country, it's pretty fast. Yeah, no. By the time I'm entering Court and Country, and the times I've played through it, I've already pushed max centralization, so like I'm honestly probably just forgetting how easy it pushes. I hope they fix the masonry issue. The negative opinion for sharing a border is the first legitimate game-breaking issue they've made. I'm gonna try playing a Brandenburg game, Bohemia break alliance right after they annexed the two countries between us, which is ridiculous. Interesting. Isn't that ridiculous, though? I think maybe the HRE, that modifier maybe shouldn't apply. I like that they're trying to make values not set in stone with your initial strategy, but change with time. I think they already have that with, like, capital economy versus traditional economy and serfdom versus free subjects to some extent. Muscovy has to seize land to keep up with history. Yeah. They want expansion to be slower. The eco change killed Delhi, I think. Really? I'm not sure. I got into the game and wondering if you have any plans to do an economy guide. I do, but I wanted some of these changes to go through. Like, I wanted to start off with, like, from a top-down perspective. I wanted to start out with balance, and like the not game balance, but like balance as in the your income and expenses and this type of thing. And doing that before the changes that we have in here just doesn't make any sense. Alright, diplomacy. Fixed additional... I think we read all through all Diplo. Economy. Fixed an issue where player automation gold limit was being applied to countries. Fixed an issue where AI would not want to start building a location to a maximum of 0 if the location had a maximum of 0 of the required pop type. Yeah, so this is one issue with newly made colonies. They actually would not build any burger buildings at all. Maybe this is solving that. Gold automation slider now works for RGOs. Yep, okay. Interface. Kool-Aid Beans. Thank you for the follow, Big Nice. Much appreciated. Oristo versus Pluto also changes early versus late. Yeah, I agree. Castile starts with minus 90 opinion with Portugal because shared borders. What the fuck? I mean, it is an open beta. You mean Aristo is worth keeping? I think she means that Aristo is really good when you use levies, and it gets a lot worse when you're not using levies. I think the cost of pushing Pluto is kind of expensive, though. Usually, you have to give, like, a lot of concessions. Would you do a small tutorial on how you manage your trade efficiently with UI? Maybe we could do this. Here, I'll make a note. Oh, we weren't taking notes here. We weren't gonna... I guess we're not doing a follow-up video. It's just gonna be this, but... Stripes to the disease map. Cool. Trade range map that allows selecting and showing trade range. This is nice. Trade range map mode. This is one of my requests in the pre-release, I think. It's because this is something that's difficult to see. Tactical map mode now shows province capitals. Yes, there we go. I use the tactical map mode the most when fighting, and so this is really nice that it now has this. No change to the river map mode, though, I notice. What's that about? We're not going to put it on the bottom bar? That's, like, one of the things that people ask me the most is, like, how do I access that map mode? It doesn't exist on the bottom bar. I think it's probably fine that they don't put it on the bottom bar, but I did think that's funny. A lot of the panels are just going to be... I'm not sure how interesting reading through all the UI changes is. I assume people will just kind of scroll through it slowly as we like read chat, and if you want to read it, you can, but we're not going to read through it very closely. Can't find trade range map mode. Check in the hotkeys. It might be only assignable via hotkey. If they don't want fully centralized states doing vassal swarms, they should take a look at how silly Diplo-Annex is instead of nerfing centralization, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I think that there was an interesting minigame, and the game got less interesting. because the interesting minigame was how you were going to manage deciding what things to give up when it came to picking what decentralization trend things you went for. And now there's no, like, you just don't have a choice, and you just clearly push decentralization, I think. Oh, baby. Shift and control functionalities to upgrade building. Let's go. So we won't have to go into the individual location and then, like, shift-click once and shift-click again. Truce's remaining time to be covered by the truce icon? Hell yeah. Air icon in the country panel. Alright, alright. Can I please have provinces in the river map mode? Yeah, there's a lot of changes. I mean, like, let's read through some of the text. The change breaks things for sure. Yeah. Do they fix building subsidies being turned off every month? Not that I had read. Delhi starts with 322 tax base and 922 tax base, 3x the tax base from before. Really? Oh, I guess the subjects. Delhi's issue is their subjects are disloyal and don't pay them shit. Because the subject type, they like uber nuts kicked like the subject type for like India. India doesn't get normal vassals. They get like this different subject type, and because they have 3 different subject types, they made them so like they're all disloyal or something, and like the way that ends up happening is you just don't get any income. Hami Hitane, thank you for the follow, Big Nice. And so that's probably increasing the tax base. Also, the pop increasing the tax base is a vibe too. The approach is to release subjects, but that's gonna hurt. Yeah, maybe Delhi's like super kicked in the nuts. Yeah, I still think Delhi's like a really strong start, probably. Minus 275 from shared borders. Not even full consolatory will allow me to annex them. Gross. Yeah. The monthly wealth from 0.25 privilege with decentralization now seems viable. Monthly wealth with... I don't even know what that's talking about. 0.25 privilege with decentralization. Oh! I have to look and check this privilege. Watching him play Norway helped a lot because Norway was your first run. I think I would start manually trading. The tin shortages have scared me. You gotta trade for the tin. River map mode is still undercooked. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I gave a suggestion very early on, like, that they color code, that the only thing that they, because I understand, like, they didn't think that map mode was much of a priority, and I suggested that they at least color code the directionality of rivers. Which, if they already have the data for where the rivers are flowing, which I thought that they did for the previous river map mode, that wouldn't be that difficult in implementation. But I guess they probably don't want to do half measures with the map mode at like post-release, and so they're probably looking for a bigger solution or just not going to touch it and just going to leave it in the dark corner. It's like it's the drowning child and like underwater skeleton beam. Right, it's like, this is like, the river map mode's down here. I honestly think that most people were not using the river map mode, though. Rivers are so powerful. Like, I don't know. Diplo Annex, no-brainer choice because it's basically faster integration that uses Diplo Annex instead of council slots. 100% agree. That's why I think you just have to go decentralized. But you don't have to Diplo Annex. You can just also seize territory. Instead of only picking only good centralization privileges, now you will just pick decentralization ones. Yeah. This too, like, this is another reason why, like, you'll also just have, like, all the... I guess during court and country, you can specifically pull off all the decentralization privileges and push centralization, and maybe this is the gameplay pattern now. That makes a lot of sense. Because you'll get a lot of centralization with the disaster, and you can also pull specifically all the privileges that give decentralization trend, and now you just go full decentralization before then. Issue with Delhi is there 50 million pops, add a ton of eco base, yeah, plus 500, yeah. Yeah, but also, like, pops are so valuable, like... A Delhi, Ming, or Mamluks still easiest best? Well, Mamluks really, really benefit from the fact that they're all just in a really tight clump. And a big part of China being best is that the Middle Kingdom is insane. It's just like fiddly in terms of its execution and like how you play with it, but like because it's expensive, but it's like insane. Another advantage to decentralization is subject swarm fiefdoms giving monarch points from passing support to their parliament over time. Yep. Check your privilege. Jesus. Get riggedy wrecked by chat. Is naval market access fixed? No, the fix for this is not trivial to implement. Because so currently like market access is calculated on like an international level, right? And then most infrastructure is calculated on a national level. Most proximity-based infrastructure. It only applies to your nation. But your markets operate internationally. When you look at which area, which market different locations go to, right? When you're looking at that, they're attracted to multiple markets simultaneously. And so, which infrastructure they use, are they going to use your infrastructure always, even if it's in another person's market? And they do that with harbor capacity, but they can't do that with maritime presence, right? You're going to have maritime... I mean, I guess you could try and figure out some way of doing it, but the point is that they only apply all of the modifiers that are applied directly to locations, so rivers, roads, harbor capacity, and they don't apply modifiers that are relevant to the nation, like maritime presence, because it's only checking modifiers that are international modifiers. Or this is like my understanding of how it works. It's not been explained to me, but like it seems like that would be the case. Whereas proximity is only ever calculated for your nation. It's just too late. By the time you get integrated area, you could already be smacking AI and having continent-sized coalitions. Yes. The river and road map mode both seem to be point-to-point like migration shows rather than flat territory by territory. What? They should implement what river mod does in the workshop, showing all the roads and rivers in the same map mode. I think that would be nice. Thank God, thank goodness we have the handy river direction map mode that shows us ocean currents in bright green. That map mode used to do stuff. Why seize territory over annex? Because you can seize territory for marches. Honestly, who plays until court content? Eco scales way too fast for that to be enjoyable. People who make content for YouTube, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna play it until the final age on the Venice run. It's taking me forever to play through it, though. Maybe this is just really stupid of me. Did they add a way to properly upgrade buildings? They did add a way. Apparently. I don't know how good it is, though. I haven't taken a close look. I wish pound locks could be built in towns and not just cities. I wish Canals just had an entirely different... Canals just in general kind of feel like kind of weirdly treated project. I think that there should be like mega projects. I've commented on this a little bit before, but like that cathedrals cost like 2 or 3 times as much as a guild is like just silliness. Some cathedrals took 600 years to build. I haven't used marches. Why cease from marches? Because marches do not increase your decentralization trend. So in theory, you could go marches and centralization. But like, I don't know if it's still too difficult to keep the loyalty with the -30 penalty. It's completely bricks. Tenno, I don't know how to pronounce the Aztec stuff. It might be possible to complete their disaster with passive vassal drift down. Impossible, yeah. Because you have to push centralization? No, yeah, it's probably impossible. Canals are so busted in the city, it has to be a city. Otherwise it's too easy. Yeah, wow. It's kind of easy. But, okay. Tooltips. Just generally the tooltips being better on the military, I think is a really important change. Looks like they're not emphasizing it too much, though. But they have changed it. This is a nice change here. Oh my god. You can now scroll through antagonism. Thank god. Very tired of just having like the list of all the people I know I have high antagonism with and I can't check when resolving a war. This is a good change. Yeah, I don't know. I think overall I'm like... Well, I don't... I guess I want to know what the design intent was behind the centralization change, because I think they've completely made centralization unviable, but just reading it, I could be wrong, like once dropping a game and it's like Tenok Titlan? Tenok Titlan? But they changed the zoom on research again? Good, because it was awful. How viable is it for fast blogging strategy to just annex stuff and let it integrate naturally? It's fine if you can get a lot of satisfaction. It's like not too bad, or a lot of the pop join rebel threshold. To be honest, the Republics get 5 pop join rebel threshold, and also it's less important that you have like satisfaction, because you're gaining more income from trade than from tax. And so it might be the case that you just like play as a Republic, you put everything on 55 satisfaction, and you just take everything yourself. And like you can manage the expansion like easy enough like that. But like one of the things is like centralized. Yeah, I mean, you're controlling a bunch of territory. You're gonna have lower average control playing centralized than decentralized, because you're gonna own more land. I guess that kind of makes sense. I'd argue that making decentralization more attractive in regards to control might be even more fun instead of feeling bad. Well, I don't... I try and view things more in terms of like gameplay patterns than like, are you stronger or weaker than before? In terms of gameplay changes, because otherwise you just have infinite power creep with all changes. But like the mini game of deciding what to pick for your decentralization trend because you could only get so much of it and it was effectively a resource, that entire gameplay pattern's gone. So I think it made the game less interesting from a gameplay perspective. But it doesn't necessarily, like, some of the things make sense, and you, like, not going centralization until court and country, and then you turbo pushing it maybe makes sense and is interesting enough. And I think that's probably how you try and play. Do you think they should reduce the research points requirement in every era? No, but I think that the scaling should be different on embraced institutions. I think it should give you flat research speed. Or flat and percentage. I don't like how it gives... I don't like how percentage research speed actually just gets worse as the game goes on, because you get so much from literacy and from embraced institutions. And it just ends up being like a really weak modifier. I think it should be a really strong modifier that feels satisfying and strong. And so if they made it give flat research, that would also... I'm currently okay with the amount of text that you get, you research. If anything, I think that you should research a little bit less, so I don't think they should reduce the requirement. I think that they should shift it around, though. Like, -1, -2 for era, or instead of flat reduction. Oh, wait, yeah. You're talking about the discount you get from previous era tech. Yeah, I think that should scale with how far back it is. Like, the further back it is, the cheaper it is. Is there no concept of trade protection? Well, there is market protectionism that pulls more locations into a market, and then you can protect your own market. There's market protection as a mechanic, and then you can make it more expensive for other countries to export out from your market if you push mercantilism. So there's definitely a trade protectionism mechanic. Yeah, I think you're missing something, unless you just don't think that that mechanic's robust enough. Oh, I have a coalition of 14 to 40 somewhere in there. Yeah, you just, like, completely opaque and you have no idea. Tenochtitlan? Like Nahuatl. Tenochtitlan. Yeah, it's strangely phonetic. Decentralized large expansionist state, centralized smaller state makes sense to me. Yeah. Yeah, I think my biggest complaint is that the minigame is now, the minigame of, like, caring about your trend is now, like, irrelevant. But... Logged in the patch and all your vassals had, like, 30 to 50 loyalty with support loyalists. Central is totally fine. Did you wait a month? How many vassals do you have? How do you end the never-ending coalition wars? You don't. That's why they're never ending. You annex everyone. I win them, but all the micro is too tiring after the 10th coalition war. You make sure that you don't get too expansive of coalition and you annex people before, like, moving on to pissing off the next group. So, like, you annex all of Iberia before attacking Germany type of thing. You could also juggle the wars. If you declare right when the truce ends, truces end, and then on the next monthly tick, people will join coalitions. So you can just declare on people before the coalition. I mean, it doesn't decrease the micros, so because you still have to fight a bunch of people. But the issue is that all the coalition members that are not the target of the war get plus 66% cost, war score cost on everything. And you don't want that, so what you do is, the second the truces are up, you pause and you deck on everyone individually before they can join the coalition, and by doing this, you have to set up your ability to do this with, like, subject CBs and this type of thing, but by doing this, you don't have the plus 66% cost, and you can annex them faster. But the solution's annexing them all, and so before you get a coalition, it is useful to get a lot of antagonism reduction, diplo rep, and administrative efficiency, because they all decrease the amount of antagonism you take. And if you stack a whole bunch of this, it will make it so that when you are fighting one group, other groups don't get pissed at all. So when you are annexing, like, countries in Iberia, only countries in Iberia get pissed. And so when you do this, you can kind of, like, you war Iberia, they're annexed, then you move on to the next zone. The only place where it's not possible to, like, reduce the antagonism super low through this is, like, Germany and the HRE. They're just always all going to be all pissed. Is there any chance they push the bug fixes to live and keep these changes on the beta? I don't like a lot of these changes at all. No. There's no chance that they make, like, a double split branch. That doesn't make sense from a dev perspective. Edgewise, SJ, thank you for the follow, big nice. Or I don't speak for them. I just, like, I would bet the farm that they don't do that. That seems, that seems like a lot of extra work for very little upside. I think they're trying to address not the problem, but the player's solution to it. Something has to change with integration, and especially with the culture, changing culture to get full cores. Well, I think that when you integrate a subject, you shouldn't just get a core. I think it should just be integrated. I don't like that. The modding stuff doesn't mean anything to me. Exiting using Alt F4 will now save the game. Let's go, baby. Let's go. You can still Control-Alt-Delete for you save scummers out there. You fake Iron Man players. The real Iron Man is to not do that. I can't stand... If someone's an Iron Man elitist and they are birding, I think that that's, like, so crazy to me. You either live by the iron and die by the iron, or you, like, can't be an elitist about it, IMO. It's, like, more of a pain in the ass to make content, so I don't make content on Iron Man, and I, like, reload if something is, like, an issue. Yeah. I'm from 1570 and I still have subjects from 1300s because I made two big subjects for enforcing culture. Womp womp. Antagonism is centered on specific locations. It looks very scary early game, but you can get used to it if you juggle it. Yeah. Was your opinion on food mechanics? The overabundance of it doesn't get enough incentive to slow urbanization. I think this is maybe a problem with the entire urbanization mechanic rather than the, like, food mechanics necessarily, and also the fact that peasants just make a ton of food. And so if you have a ton of peasants, it becomes completely irrelevant because the peasants make enough food to cover other people with the way that food modifiers stack and peasants, like, stack and this type of stuff. And I think that has less to do with the food mechanics itself and more to do with some of the scaling on it and the peasants' flat food gain really offsetting, like, the need for rural. What do you do when you promoted all your peasants and having a hard time to get four town locations around average 2,500 pop in one province? To promote to a city, I just use migration attraction edict or decree or whatever it is. Urbanizing is almost always superior. I don't think I necessarily agree, but sup edgewise. Denmark is strong if you destroy Lubeck and get the Hanseatic League diminished debuff or buff. Well, I'm not aware of this buff. I'm a little bit behind on chat. Apologies. If you improve relations, their antagonism just goes away. It doesn't entirely go away. It gets, like, effectively overridden, but, like, once you get really, really high antagonism, you get to the point where you can't improve relations out of it. But, like, if you stack enough reduction modifiers, you can, like, basically annex everyone before you hit that threshold. Feel like coalitions have no teeth? They kind of do have no teeth, they're just a pain in the ass. I mean, integrating the province yourself and then changing culture to get 4 cores, it's so bad. Oh yeah, I mean, you should just use subjects. Yeah, I agree. It's not very good. I'm not sure how good they want it. I think design principle, they want subjects to be better. And so, like, yeah, so, like, design principle, it seems that they want subjects to be better. Right? And now, especially with decentralization changes, like, subjects were already better, but now you, like... Yeah, now it's so bad to take stuff yourself. And I think that it's not necessarily that, like, there should maybe be more hand-holding, regarding, like, subject expansion. I think that this is I think this is a really significant noob trap. I am actually making, like, a list of mistakes I think beginner players make, and one of them is just, like, doing anything but expanding via subjects for, like, a variety of reasons. I don't see the centralization changes making it in the next patch. I think a lot of people are going to vocally really not like them. I don't know... I dislike them, but I don't... But not that strongly, and it depends on what their intention is. Like, if their intention is to make centralization and decentralization both viable, I think they completely missed the mark. Are there really Iron Man elitists who bird? I think they're two separate parts of the Iron Man community. I've seen Iron Man elitists who then talk about, like, when you raise another point, then they're just like, oh, you just bird there. And you're like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, and maybe they're just, like, rage baiting. But, like, I think if you're an Iron Man purist, or here's the thing, I think if you're playing on Iron Man and you're birding, that's just kind of like, actually, if you're playing on Iron Man and you're birding, and that's the way you want to play, you can play like that. If you're playing on Iron Man and you're birding, and then you're talking about how all achievements should be Iron Man, like, required, and, like, people who don't play on Iron Man aren't really playing the game, I think you're just being silly. I'm a birder, but the hassle of Control-Alt-Delete reduces save scumming. Yeah, you can still do it, though. You can still also create, like, save files. Also, people who say that, like, runs don't count unless they're on Iron Man, it's also just silly, because people can... there's still ways to create save files. And so, like, it's Iron Man doesn't ensure a pure run by itself. One that does it for achievements and one that does it for difficulty. That's... Well, the elitists are... The elitists, in my mind, are the people who are not motivated for why they do it, but they're motivated with how they think other people should do it and this type of thing. So, those are more the ones I'm talking about. Yeah. I think the Iron Man change is very silly, considering you only get achievements in Iron Man if you have to, if you care about them, you're forced to endure the monthly autosave and annoying birding, or just be better at the game. But, like, I think I prefer it when achievements are not Iron Man because of how easy it is to circumvent Iron Man. I would just... But, in principle, I wouldn't mind it if they, like, had a way to guarantee Iron Man, but they don't. Have you ever played through the Little Ice Age? I think briefly, but, like, it's really bad if you're far north. Like, it's really rough. Is it intended you can full conquer Biz in 1342 as the Ottomans? That doesn't sound too unreasonable. Does improved relations work in like EU4? Does the modifier also increase antagonism decay? I don't think so, but there's like a huge amount you can get that just like additively offsets antagonism. I think their design flaw was always integrating one province and leave all other provinces as subjects. Wait, what? The philosophy? I think you just never integrate stuff by hand unless you want specific locations. Like, taking market center capitals is really strong, so I think you just take those yourself and integrate them, and you also take stuff that's super close to your capital. Anyone know a valid location for seizing territories? It has to be... You have to be adjacent to it. Ooh, VRAM saves. Let's go. I did a whole subject run. It's really annoying because subjects are dumb and not worth subjects when you got Big Bohemia and Hungary, Poland, for example. I think subjects are really strong. Villages, making rural ports better in India/China. I think it's funny, but they're not better in the late game. I don't think it's that big a deal. I think it's kind of okay. I think that specifically is strangeness, but like it's not the biggest deal. Seems they want you to be decentralized with vassals early and then transition owning everything yourself and being centralized. Yeah, during court and country. But I still think you might just have too many subjects by the time you hit court and country that you just still can't do it anyways, but it makes you forced to play decentralization until court country. But even then, like if you have like 30 subjects by the time you hit it, it's not gonna matter. Minus 30 loyalty is so much, and to make it minus 10 and the changes are fine. Well, it's minus 60. If you're comparing centralization versus decentralization, that's so much. I play Iron Man without birding, but I literally don't care how you play Hearts. Yeah, if someone plays Iron Man with 0 birding whatsoever, I actually don't really... Other than them maybe being a dick, I don't care about them being an elitist about it. It's specifically, like, the hypocrisy is the annoying thing, right? Denmark feels really strong, period. Def choice for Scandi runs. You should do Norway into Denmark to get Norway's tech as well. Saving is very noticeable in EU5, the other Iron Man change. Yeah, like, oh, this making Iron Man more viable? Yeah. Why Iron Man as we are experiencing so many patch changes? Yeah, this is another thing, is like playing a new game on Iron Man is a little crazy. Like, as someone who's trying to figure out the game, if you're trying to figure out the game and you play on Iron Man, like, in terms of practically speaking, it makes you play like such a little bitch if you're like playing normally. Like, you just don't take risks, and it makes it harder to like limit test, you know, if you're just gonna be like super conservative and cautious about everything. I'm already cautious enough, but like I like save if something, or I reload a save if something goes like horrifically wrong, but I'm still almost never doing that because I still play like super careful. Let's see. Prevented units from moving if no one was looking at them, stopping. Oh, this is like a visual, like, weirdness. Read most titles and options that were correctly showing. Fixed road construction, building outdated roads over modern ones. What? Not like this. Sometimes we would build outdated roads in areas just for the, for reasons other than proximity or market access. And so that's probably causing issues. Excuse me. But that looks like all of it. I think we still have some discussion to get through, so we'll kind of scroll back up to here so people can like read this as we kind of get through some more of the comments. Where does the term birding come from? I believe Fleury coined the term, where he would say, "Oh, look, a bird," when he Alt F4'd, like pretending to look out the window, and then he just called it birding. But yeah, the idea is you pretend like you're not clicking Alt F4, but you're clicking Alt F4. PDX Unlimited works for EU5 and is much more comfy than Alt F4. I don't know why centralization has to be viable. Decentralization has to be viable. I think I'm kind of like net okay-ish with the change if the intention is like literally to make decentralization the only way to play until coordinate country, and then you can play one of two ways. But if that's not the design intent, I think it's a huge miss. I don't know. Earlier on in the stream, I was kind of reacting like to it quite strongly, but like if their goal was multiple viability, I think they like super failed. But like if their goal is like actually to make it the notion of playing it like impossible, then it's like good. Can you not just kill process of EU5 in the task manager instead now? Yeah, you can. So you can still save scum. There's also ways to like dupe saves or whatever. How am I supposed to annex France if I have minus 400 from declared war and it decays so slowly? You're not. If you declare too many wars on someone, you just have to wait forever, is the thing. I think there is a way to speed up the decay, but I don't remember. I think there's some mechanics that do it, but the truth is you have to wait a really long ass time. Is the point of research that you're supposed to skip a bunch of stuff? I think so. I like it a lot more when there's opportunity cost. You're not supposed to research everything. Right now it feels like you don't have to skip anything that's good. So if anything, I wish it was a little bit more stringent. And you like are building out what your nation's good at. But the problem is everyone will just throw the military techs and just wait for the next stage techs. Because the techs in the other, like, two branches, like, are just, like, always good, and the military ones are only good if you have it that specific age advances. So I think maybe, if anything, like, you should have to, like, in order to get heavy infantry from age 2, you should maybe need to have, or, sorry, heavy infantry from age 3, you should maybe have to have heavy infantry from age 2, like, as a requirement. Stuff like this. Denmark gets flat naval procs, so it's pretty good. Yeah, so you do Norway to get a little bit more. The monthly autosaves killed it. It looks like they got rid of it. I just take risks and then rage quit. Hey, let's go. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, like, if you're trying to limit test and figure out the game, like, Iron Man's, like, awful. I play on Iron Man. I'm a mediocre player. I also cheat sometimes and I have no clue how others should play it. Yeah. I hate Iron Man for learning. Yeah. It's, yeah. I don't know. I've just had, like, a lot of, like, or not a lot, a very small select of very negative interactions with people, like, being super uppity about how people who don't play on Iron Man aren't real players or something, and it's like, just, bro, you're, like, out of your mind. You're like self-flagellating just so you can brag to people on the internet, basically, and then you're safe scumming too, so none of it actually even matters. The really annoying thing about Iron Man is that you have to get the achievements, every time. Do you really? I haven't played on my Iron Man yet. I don't have any achievements on EU5 right now. If I do Iron Man, it's going to be for content, and then I'm just, like, never going to save scum it and probably just run into the ground somehow. Because it's more amusing to, like, playing super careful is not that good of content. So, like, if I'm going to play Iron Man, I would probably try and play it threading the needle, and probably kill the run somehow. I love your patch notes reading, but I just got here. Can you restart? No. We already read through the entire thing. The big change is the decentralization change, I guess. This is also a big change, I think. It's going to make high pop areas a lot better. I'm kind of okay with this change. I think Pops in general should get nerfed, but Pops also got the other big change. There's like 3 big changes. Maybe we should make a follow-up video, but the other big change is economic base. How it's calculated is a bit different, so yeah. Buff centralization was fine, but loyalty malice to centralization is stupid. Yeah, I mean, I think they made it, like, completely unplayable early on. Like, anyways, fun stream, gotta off to bed, good night. But I think we're starting to be a little bit repetitive, so we're just gonna look to clear through any questions, comments, concerns people have. Decentralized should give income for vassals, perhaps. To some extent it does, because loyalty scales income. But yeah, I think that would be okay. I mean, this seems very heavy-handed. I feel like I've read stuff from the devs where they've said they want to make decentralization viable. And this, I think that these changes aren't viability. I think that these changes are, like, exclusively, like, the only option in terms of, like, if you're playing tight. And that's, like, where my initial reaction is kind of, like, this is, like, this completely just turns it on its head. So, you haven't made any advances to Grab Guide at some point? At some point, would you do that at some point? Yeah, maybe we'll do top 10 advances of each age. Yeah. Doing an advances tier list is kind of rough. Or each tree. I don't know. Maybe I'll try and see what's going on. It's a lot of work to make a tier list with 100 images, because I have to screenshot all of them and then edit the background on all of them for 100 images and put them in a folder and do the things. 20% Army and Navy initiative seems so important, but is buried under so much ass for the tree. Initiative's actually just not very strong right now for armies. It's kind of okay for navies. It allows you to retreat faster. Navy init is underwhelming. You get a ton from Admiral. Yeah, this is the other thing, is initiative, more than the other modifiers, you get a ton from General and Admiral, which makes modifiers for it a lot less relevant. But as a modifier, it does protect your ships a lot. Like, you lose a lot less ships when you have high initiative. Yeah, I think the modifiers from values should also scale based on age, so they don't diminish as you gain more researchers that outvalue the actual values. This would be okay too, but then currently, like, research speed tech just kind of, yeah, sucks. So you're saying that pain is salvation? That's exactly what I'm saying. I limit test on Iron Man. The thing is, my failures are always failures of scaling. So I have to go far back that it doesn't matter. Might as well restart. I can't think of a really strict example because I don't play on Iron Man, but I just know that, like, when I have played on Iron Man in, like, EU4 in the past, there's, like, some, like, decision points where you're like, okay, this war would be good and this is a good opportunity, but I actually just... I'm not going to declare it because I'm just going to be a little bitch, because if it goes bad, the run's just dead, so I'm just going to wait. I don't have time to deal with Iron Man if I make major mistakes, because I don't know what certain mechanics... Yeah, also, if you just don't know mechanics and you just get, like, super dicked and you're just like, I didn't know that that was a thing. Like, it, like, very much will warp your play. H1 regulars are so OP, much better than before. Hopefully they're not as OP as the April version, but we'll see. If I don't play Iron Man, I start reloading for the lamest of reasons. I mean, I can't be bothered to reload for, like, really lame reasons. I don't know. Reloading 50 times? To some extent, I'm, like, limited by the speed at which I make content, and, like, it costs me... reloading a lot costs me IRL dollars. Like, the more I reload, it actually costs me real-life money, effectively. Because people really don't care about super marginal stuff. And also, people don't really care if you do badly, if you're just generally your play is good and you understand the game. Or that's been my experience. And, like, sometimes people even like watching you, like, get wrecked. And so, from my motivation perspective, like, it really doesn't make sense to super aggressively reload. Like, if it bricks the run, then you reload, but, like, other than that, it's, like, not too crazy. Does gold and silver deplete? No. New border opinion changes have made, maybe let's make a list of all the biggest changes, and we can do a short little video. Centralization, border opinion is big. The economic base calculation. What else is really big? Pop building scaling, which I think is good. I actually like this change a lot. We can skim through it, I guess, really quick for the very biggest things. Because we've already talked through this. But I don't know if we make a video out of this. But I guess to punctuate it for people who are just deriving. But yeah, the border changes are going to make some things, like, a lot worse. Inland exploration, I guess, is really nice. I think those are actually just the biggest changes. And now it's going to be so much easier to have subjects. Just because you have to go decentralization, and now you're just getting plus 30, like, opinion. Definitely like some of the changes here. Like, this change is so nice. But combat was also rebalanced a little bit too, right? It's just not in here. I'll just put pro and levy rebalance. They don't have it on this list, but we know that it was changed. People are complaining about centralization, have no idea how history works. Yeah, I think I'm overall, yeah, okay with the changes, just depending on what they're trying to achieve. It just, like, either does what they want or it doesn't. And I think it makes you have less decision points. We're going to try and get through some of these questions, though. Is it worth to fight the entire HRE coalition as France? I'd probably try and avoid that. If they're small enough, what you don't want to fight is a bunch of medium, large size members. But if they're sufficiently small, you can just annex them all. How do you build roads for market access? So, there's a button that builds for proximity, and there's a button that builds for movement speed. Generally, the one that builds for movement speed will build better for market access. Currently, you just build out from the market capital instead of building out from the capital. But currently, as it stands, there's no button that will purely select the best market access. Just generally speaking, the shortest route, or the route that is the fastest to walk, is going to generally be the fastest to get market access from. Whereas the proximity building heuristic often will take a longer route if that route is over less rough terrain. Another 6-hour generalist video on research incoming? Yeah. Well, I think the way research in games is represented is just generally really bad. Which is you get mana and then you research through a tree, and that doesn't correspond with the way ideas spread, like, at all. How viable is it to connect all adjacent locations? I wouldn't connect all adjacent locations. I would build for proximity, and then I would build for market access, and then you build also to make sure that everywhere is getting development modifier. What's the current fiefdom versus vassal position? They're generally somewhat similar. You're mixing them up for, generally speaking, loyalty reasons. Fiefdom, they can roll parliaments, which increase the power on your rulers, so it's better to have a bunch of small fiefdoms, I guess. Vassals, you can get them to share institutions with you, so that's an advantage, and then fiefdoms integrate territories faster. But the changes aren't huge. Or the differences aren't huge. It feels trivial to gap the AI in Navy. Yeah, the AI is really bad at Navy. Like, I'm on Shasta, thank you for the follow, big nice. Like, particularly bad. Honestly, like, just patrolling ships in various sectors are enough to just completely wipe their navies. I have way too much free time to play. I completely understand why people don't play Iron Man. Yeah. I can stand by disloyal vassals can separate peace and get annexed. Yesterday, I absolutely crashed out on my Iron save. Yeah, but now you've learned the lesson, which is if they're gonna be disloyal, you enable scootage. And if you enable scootage, they won't join your wars, so they won't get annexed. Why do you like Sunniism so much? Is it because you can max tax dhimmis without rebelling? It's a lot of things. Their tech is better. Depending on where you put your capital, you can take slaves when you take territory. They have access to the dhimmi estate, and so they end up having enormous heathen tolerance of heathens. And so this makes it so you just have way less rebels overall when expanding. And there's, like, a lot of, like, positive things. They have access to, like, 10% burgher tax, even if your dhimmi estate isn't very big. Like, there's just a lot of things. But the biggest thing is that Catholicism sucks balls. And so getting off of Catholicism is really good. Like, if swapping from Catholicism to Hindu was on the table, then the discussion would be more, do I go Sunni or do I go Hindu? I think it's still Sunni, but, like the Chinese religion is probably, it might be better than Sunni. It probably is better than Sunni. I think Shinto's probably better than Sunni. It's just like, it's between China's Shinto, Hinduism, and Sunni, the differences in power level are much smaller than Catholic to, like, anything else. Catholic just really sucks hard. Yeah. On the way to form Roman Empire in the Age of Absolutism and Iron Man on Venice Red. Very nice. Don't forget the 20k pop versus 200k. Yeah, did we already put that? Pop building scaling. We put it down. Yep. Oh, decentralization, 2% estate satisfaction. Yeah, the satisfaction change is so strong. I don't know why that's in there. That's just, like, so out of left field. Unless they're adding that modifier in a bunch of places. I preferred the... I think I like that they slowed it down, but I really think I preferred it when that used to operate on an equilibrium rather than a flat amount, and I think I really preferred it when it was an equilibrium instead of a flat amount. Because I hate that... It makes it so you actually should need to micro your brains out to play perfectly, and I'm not doing this, but, like, if you're a state, if you have a satisfaction of 25 on the commoners, let's say, you actually want to tax them to an equilibrium of, like, 26. instead of 50%. Because if you tax to an equilibrium of 50% and you tax to an equilibrium of 26, it doesn't matter. You're going to gain the exact same flat gain no matter how much you tax them. And so that means you should always be taxing, if you're gaining satisfaction up to 50%, even if 50% is the target you want to go towards, you should always be taxing at an equilibrium just barely higher than where you currently are. So that means you should technically update it literally every month. And that's like so annoying a play pattern. The automated taxing doesn't do this, and it's just like a leak, and it's like I don't like it. I liked when it was an equilibrium. I just think that the equilibrium should have trended up slower and down faster, and I would be really okay with that, because the problem with the equilibrium is you would just recover it way too fast if you had a huge you didn't care about estate satisfaction, because if you had a big equilibrium, you'd recover to the equilibrium target too fast, and you could afford to just not care. But like, you just make the recovery slower, but it still operate at an equilibrium. But the flat 2% estate satisfaction recovery, now it's just gonna be back to where it was before, where you just gain so much back, like you just have to go decentralization to get it. Iron Man makes your mistakes feel more punishing. That's fair. If I make really stupid mistakes, people make fun of me on the internet, so... Prosperity decay? Yeah, but if it's net positive, you don't decay, right? We're gonna write it down. Maybe it's worth noting. That's fair. How bad is the changes to vassals' relative strength? I saw an image of completely disloyal Iron Man to the Roman Empire. I think it has less to. I think it has more to do with the centralization giving you -30. But yeah, at war, levies don't contribute. Or sorry, levies don't contribute. No loyalty change. It's up to 1% decay a month. As long as you have positive. Or is it operating at its equilibrium now? Is that how it works? Is prosperity now an equilibrium trend down? And so the modifier matters? Oh, I have to get the answer to this question. You can't burn on G-Force now, it autosaves for you? As a bastion against my own degenerate proclivities, yeah. Bren CMRN, thank you for the follow, big nice, much appreciated. Headed back to Naples for a redo. Loyalty change from 2 change. -30 for centralization. Loyalty from your country power goes from -100 to 0. Oh, the direct power-to-power country? That's gone. Just power of all. I don't know how I think about that. I like the idea that bigger countries were easier to become disloyal, but... yeah. Removed hour ticks from multiplayer game. That makes sense. Honestly, it's more interesting if you make a huge mistake and then recover from it. Yeah. I thought market access was done through proximity. Nope. Market access is... it's affected by terrain, roads, and rivers, and harbor capacity, and that's it. And proximity doesn't affect it all. The streamer is bald? True. Big if true. Hey, Tarkus, how's it going? How you be? Making sure the power of fiefs and vassals are balanced to lower the loyalty hits. Yeah, there's also less loyalty in the tree. I have to see how much that is. Why is Catholicism bad? Because it's just not good. The bonuses you get from Catholicism on the religion itself, there's like some good stuff. I forget what it is. But the texts just aren't very good. Texts also operate at opportunity cost, right? So like you give up another tech to research a text, so it has to be better than the marginal text, and there aren't too many texts that are better. The mechanics aren't very good. And you get like just way more from Protestant. Like Protestant, I think you can get like 10% prox cost reduction and 10% tax efficiency or something, and then like one other thing, and just like those three things together are just better. The economy gameplay in EU5 got me interested in Vic3. Would you recommend it for someone who's looking to have a bit more trade gameplay? Absolutely. The economy and politics is the super interesting thing about Vic3. Chungus do. Thank you for the follow, Big Nice. I would say that if you it's really important for you to move around armies on a map, though. Vic3 is going to frustrate you. How do you switch the religion on your ruler? I'm not sure of an active way to do that. You might be able to do it, I just don't know. Checked calculations for subject loyalty and peace when levies were raised, and scutage no longer matters as they went from -30 to -40 a peace, and war loyalty unchanged from patches. That's weird. The point of this, well, scutage shouldn't matter peace versus war now because levies are not supposed to be counted. So the fact that it shouldn't make a difference peace at war. What does satisfaction recovery mean? So you gain 2 satisfaction per month on like your noble's estate, and instead it'll be 2.2. I think they nerfed Catholic because they get all the advances first. Respectfully, with all due respect, the Mamluks can get all the advances faster than anyone else. Mamluks are probably just the stone best for getting all of it. Do you recommend colonial nations or just annex? Forming a colonial empire across the American coast, do you recommend colonial nations or just annex? You should make a ton of small nations, I think, is the best practice. Although, like, if it makes you more satisfied to, like, make bigger ones, just make bigger ones. It's not the biggest deal. Less than 35% of state satisfaction gives you bad events. Also, less than, the less satisfaction they have, in terms of linear scaling, they build more stupid stuff the more upset they are. The default is 0.2 recovery, decentralization brings it up to 2.2%. That's how I read it, which, like... that's so much, like, Catholic is not that bad. There's some good stuff in the Papal Bull. The issue is during a hot phase of the game when the Western Schism turns off the Papal Bull and you get flooded with bad events. Some of the Papal Bull things are okay. They're not like... I don't think they compare to, like, the things that you get from Sunni. Like, the Sunni texts are so much better. No, being net positive doesn't stop the decay. It's an equilibrium. It's an equilibrium? Okay, so it actually matters. Got it, got it. That is a big change. Equilibrium 1% decay at max. So it'll be really hard to max prosperity, and all prosperity modifiers are good. Okay, so it's not just a matter of hitting a slight positive and then you just don't care about it anymore. Relative powers borked before it go up to +20. Now it seems to stop at 0, so it's not just the centralization shower. It stops at 0. Alright. It's negative only now, so you lose 20 from that in itself. Basically, we'll put in parentheses -20. So it's -50 effectively if you go all centralization. Yeah. Seems like maritime presence is a lot more volatile. How much market access do you consider making a new market as a rule of thumb? The problem is that the answer is that it depends. Because sometimes you tolerate really low market access because you don't want to build a bunch of industry there anyways, and you're just using it for RGOs to fuel kind of more important places. So it's a function of like how much potential dev pops you have in the region and how much control you can project there really determines like the value of it. But if you want the like roughest rule of thumb, like at 60% maybe. Deus Vault CB, that's also probably worth noting. Lawlerity gives you like 15% literacy, yeah. Minus 10% procs on Protestant, here we come. I don't remember if it's minus 10%. I think it was at some point, but I don't know if it's gotten nerfed. But the 0.5 legitimacy from Buddhism is also really strong. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's so much better than Catholic. Like, Catholic, you're talking about, like, if you were running all the papal bulls and you have the Catholic bonus, like, the 0.5 legitimacy is just better. You probably want Scootage, because so the AI doesn't run the 800 stack into a 10k stack and feed horse score. This is the reason to do it, yeah. How do you transport troops from Spain to the New World? My boats keep dying and losing troops from ships. You need better ships, and when you get to the New World, you need the naval supplies required to repair the ships there. It helps if you don't have galleys in that fleet as well. Galleys are slow as fuck. So your fleet will move the speed of the slowest ship. Don't use galleys, because they'll slow down the entire fleet. Last splash, you put vassals on Scootage whenever you go to war and does not impact your subject loyalty by raising levies, which no longer is a thing. Everyone's just disloyal. Yeah. Paradox forums are down. Can't post anything. Womp womp. The state's recovery is additive, so plus 0.05 recovery at 25 decentralized increase the nobles' recovery to 0.25? Wait, what? Is it 2% or 0.2%? If it's 0.2%, that's less insane. It says 2%. Does it mean 0.2%? Is this just a typo? That's not as insane. It's still really good. It's not as, like, turbo nuts. Yeah, it's another 0.2. Okay. You're gonna be my background noise while I edit my Denmark video. Better stream for, like, 4 more hours. I need your voice to keep me focused. So you're saying... Oh, wait, you're editing. You're not talking. Never mind. I was gonna start saying Denmark and Norway a lot to try and mess you up. I'm not going to keep streaming for 4 more hours because I'm just trying to get through more of the comments and questions and this type of thing before outroing. Wanted to run through the patch, ran through it. We might make a short little video. As for state satisfaction, parliaments frequently are like, destroy all the stupid buildings the other guy built. Yeah, but they still waste ducats building them instead of building stuff that's more useful. To be fair, the useful stuff's sometimes not useful, but deleting that stuff is free. Sounds like we get more tax revenue with decentralization now. If you didn't have enough satisfaction to tax fully, yes. But you did before. You could still CB against heretics, but you can't against heathens without Deus Vault. Yeah. You mean that Deus Vault makes Catholicism good? Honestly, I think there's more expansion opportunities with Sunni than there is with Catholicism, to be fair. Like, yeah. Is there a way to cheaply destroy markets? Nope, just expensively. Do you get any trade capacity from vassals or just colonial nations? Just colonial nations. I think any nation can get Deus Volt. It doesn't have to be Catholic. It's because it's tied to your age focus. You have to go admin in age 2. But I think everyone gets it. It's 0.2%, yeah. Why does this game feel unfinished and untested? We gotta bust out the first time meme for him for Paradox games. I think if you're comparing this to any other Paradox release, this, like, is one of the more, like, most fleshed out releases, and it's, like, not close. I guess you could make an argument for CK. But if you're comparing it to, like, how finished video games were in, like, the 2000s, when there was no hotfix, and you just got the CD with the game, and that was it, yeah, it's maybe not as fixed. Please do a 10-minute recap of the biggest stuff. Really appreciate the last one. Alright, we might do that then. Not streaming for 4 more hours. Shake my head. That's it, I'm unsubbing. Telling Ice you're Mexican. Hey, hey now. Jesus Christ. I am Mexican. Also, like, the car wash my family used to go to, like, all the workers there got fucking deported. It's, like, up the street from me. It's like ICE just, like, came in and just fucking, like, yoink. If you're going to the third page of the patch notes, you're going to see an example of relative strength being broken. There's not pages, though. EU4 wasn't finished for, like, 5 years, to be fair. Yeah, EU4, what I remember of it on release, it was just, like, uber vanilla on release. There was just countries that existed with stuff, and that was it. Is the patch a buff for France? No, it's a turbo nerf. They got kicked to the nuts. Appanages, instead of giving, like, 1% crown power malice, now they give, like, 2.5 or something like this. How do you make centralization more appealing in the middle-late game? Let's say I keep all the changes. How would I make centralization more appealing? I don't think I could do that with all the changes. The problem is the cost of going centralization's too high if you have the... if subjects are too good to expand with, for you to not do it, and beyond the loyalty, Malice's bonuses... the fact that subjects give you decentralization trend means that the concessions you have to make to actually maintain a positive trend towards centralization are just too high. And they might even be too high once you hit cost of court. Like, that's kind of the idea, is, like, is cost of court big enough or not? And if it is, then... I guess maybe you transition with cost of, with court and country, rather, not cost of court. But other than that, like, Muster Max, thanks for the follow. Other than that, it seems... I don't think that it seems not close. Like, for some things... So for, like, serfdom is better than free subjects, but I think you go free subjects most of the time because the concessions you have to make to go serfdom are too expensive. Although now with the prosperity changes, that might not be the case. It's close, though. So, like, a big buff to serfdom would make you go serfdom instead. And, like, a buff to free subjects. With this, it's not close. It's not, like, remotely close. Like, with, like, people talking about you, as Bohemia, you start with a 0.8 trend towards decentralization. And Bohemia has, like, what, like 14 subjects? That's not, like, an enormous amount of subjects in terms of, like, optimal-ish way to expand. And so, like, you would have to... There's no way for you to overcome that amount of trend. Other than just not having subjects. And then... So I guess subjects expansion would have to blow, to answer your question. Expanding versus via subjects would just have to be really bad. Yeah. I had nothing but a fleet of cogs, and they still... Well, that's... Cogs are slow, too. I'm not sure exactly how damage is calculated for crossing seas, but if it's calculated based on hull power, you probably don't want to do it with any Age 1 ships at all. But the Age 1 ships are also just slow. Vic release was empty as fuck. Yeah, I mean, like, CK, I think, was also relatively empty. When will the next economy guide come out? I want to play a little bit on this balance with the new economic base, because the first video I want to do is based on the balance sheet, and with an entirely new economic base, I can't do that until I've touched it. Why is the most complicated game of all time not perfect? This is 100. Yeah. Well, why is it not perfectly balanced on release when there's like 15,000 levers? Balance also changed so much that you guys didn't see as well behind the scenes. There was like so many things that were so much more unbalanced. The basic systems of the game are so well thought out. It's an amazing framework for you to spend $200 on DLC. Yeah, that's like the way I look at it. I don't know, like the people who want like a game on delivery that's like you open it up and it's like Age of Empires 2 and there's one expansion and there's wham bam and that's it. Like that's just like not how the grand strategy genre like works. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit dismissive, but like it's also like this is not a new story as well. Like literally every single game that they have made since, like, what was the last game? Like, Victoria 2 was the last game that only had, like, one expansion that they made that's, like, one of the flagship games, and the rest have been, like, decades-long projects. Do you have any info trade companies fix, or even who it should work? Trade companies, like, are kind of, like, they seem like not even worth focusing on, based on like my very limited testing. And content creators who have messed around with it a little more just like said just to ignore it. El jugador generalisto. Nowhere near a most complicated game of all time. Just complicated AAA game. I wouldn't call Paradox a AAA studio. They're like shy of AAA. Not super shy, but... Are you supposed to lose the state satisfaction when you win a vote in the personal union? I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure though. Base game EU4, you didn't even have mission trees. No, like, I stopped playing EU4 basically before mission trees came in. Yeah. We said third page, I was looking at the comments. Someone showed an image of Russia with one vassal being disloyal. That's funny. There's a lot of comments. I mean, I think that there's going to be a lively discussion. I think there's going to be a lively discussion. I'd be out of a job soon. Oh no. Had a ton of, because my employer had a ton of undocumented workers that got sent home, and it's looking like we can't keep the doors open. Yeah. Very, very disruptive to a lot of different industries, and it's also, it's bad to, like, wipe out entire industries relative to, like, taking 10% off of all industries is not as bad as just completely, like, kicking some in the nuts, and there's a lot that just get kicked into the nuts. Especially if you go after the agricultural industries at all, because they hire so many undocumented, like, workers. But yeah, it's very, very disruptive to the economy. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of opinions on the immigration stuff. I don't know if... I doubt that the people who've assembled to hear me read the patch notes really want to hear me talk about immigration, though. Zarembal, lol. Thank you for the follow, Big Nice. Is releasing vassals at the start the meta? I see it in a lot of multiplayer games. It depends. I think people might be overdoing it, based on what I've seen a little bit. Just because your diplomats is a resource, right? And it takes diplomats to re-annex people. And the re-annexation cost, I think people don't factor in. They just like immediately right now, what's better? And immediately right now, in a lot of cases, releasing the vassals is better, but the eventual cost down the road to re-annex them, it's like makes it... they're only marginally better, and it's not worth incurring the cost to re-annex them. What if centralization gave you integration speed and max control to counter vassal spam? Well, max control is a really, really strong modifier. Like, extremely strong. That would make centralization a lot better, yeah. But I don't think... I don't like them swinging around flat centralization modifiers. So basically the centralization metas can turn into a decentralization meta. No. The centralization meta has turned into the obligatory decentralization, not even like meta, but like you just... Not even trying, you're going to force it to 100. Subject expansion gives cores. There's nothing in the game that could make me even consider giving that up. Yeah, I mean, subject expansion is just so unreasonable. Like, it's not unreasonably strong, but it's so insanely strong that, like, you just, like, you have to expand like that. Or it's just best. Now it's a year since game release A Studio. Hoey 4 is a 10A studio. More like thermonuclear war. Yeah. Is it really bad? We could read through... I feel like I'm like pseudo-doxing people if I like read through all their comments, but... Are people really big pissed? I think my issue with centralization gives you huge penalties to having vassals with no counterbalance that makes keeping them around worthwhile, maybe increasing the percent you skim off. Yeah. Was there any patch notes that changed the parliament building to give +1 away from absolutism instead of 0.1? That's a lot. I think liberalism's better, so I think you don't care, but... Do you think rushing centralization could be reasonable for some nation? No. Really not for China, because China has a bunch of subjects. You can't push it. You've been lifting them weights, bro? Not really. Yeah, I think, no subjects if you're centralized seems to be the thing, and subjects are too good, is probably the biggest takeaway. How hard do they nerf centralization? Centralization, the bonuses aren't nerfed, but you basically can't have subjects if you go it, so. People have been mad in your Discord, not sure about the forums. Yeah, we'll check that out in just a sec, I think. But I think that we're going to wrap it up here, and see if there's anyone to raid on Twitch. We will link that to the YouTubers. Let's see who's playing EU5. I want to try and raid different people if we can. We saw earlier we did have Lambert playing, but he's not playing anymore. Makes sense. Maybe we raid Playmaker. Playing Muscovy.
How's the bird looking?
Muscovy must push decentralized. God bless. Yeah, the thing is, I think if they wanted to create variety, that's not what they've achieved, but I think if they want to force decentralization, that's what they've achieved. You continuing the Norway game? Probably. I don't know what patch I'll play it on, though. I mean, I think you just push decentralization. Yeah. Alright. We'll send this raid out. Godspeed, everyone. Take care. Toodaloo. And then, wow, we sing but goodbye to the YouTubers second. So we'll say that you guys are my favorite, but the Twitch viewers aren't gone yet, but we'll pretend like they are, but you guys are my favorite YouTubers. Bye-bye now.